Before I found my love for the Drake aesthetic, there were a few ships that I considered my all-rounders, my dailies, my go-tos. Generally speaking, I prefer ships that lean into a jack-of-all category, as those ships would allow me to take part in a few game loops within Star Citizen. One of those ships was the Constellation Taurus, and I took it just about everywhere I could. I've since pledged the Drake Corsair, so my days with the Taurus are coming to a close, and with the wipe plan for the live release of 3.18, soon TM, I figured I'd show my appreciation for the ship that treated me so well. Citizens, my name's Beard of Oz, and today I'll be talking about the Constellation Taurus. I'll go over its specs, what it's good for, and why, deep down in my soul, I believe this ship should have been a Drake. Let's dive in. From Roberts Space Industries, the Taurus is a stripped-down variant of the Constellation-class ship. With a focus on freight hauling, a lot of the additional frills you might have come to know in the Andromeda have been scraped off to allow more room for its cargo focus. It, like most ships in its size category of large, is slated as a multi-crew vessel, though for the most part can be comfortably kept in check by just a single citizen. So what does it have under the hood? Coming in at a length of 61 meters, that's 200 feet for all you folk that still measure by the standard unit of the thumb of a man you denounced over 200 years ago, and a whopping 416 ton, it probably comes as no surprise that the Taurus is coming in with some junk in the trunk. It comes equipped with 2 medium power plants, 2 medium coolers, a single medium quantum drive, and a single large, that's right, you heard me, a single large shield generator. Size 3, baby. And the interior is just as impressive. You have 2 methods of entry into the Taurus from the ground. A fancy elevator that will bring you right up into the main rec area that smacks of Spartan living, and the cargo lift with its super trippy glassy floor that you could stare at for hours after accidentally overdosing on meds. It also has 3 airlock entrances for those zero-G situations, one on the top of the ship dumping you unceremoniously into that living space, and one on each side of the ship giving you quick access to the cargo hold. Speaking of cargo, here's where the Taurus really shines. In sacrificing a lot of fancy plating and a small snub fighter, the Taurus has a cargo capacity of 174 SU, which is a lot of distilled spirits for the lovely folk at Grim Hex. Not only that, it's got a nifty little shielded storage area at the back for you to store, well, you know, stuff. Within that living area I've mentioned, you'll also find a very simple shower unit, a host of storage lockers for your crew, or maybe just because you're a slob, it has a rather small weapons rack, enough for 2 long arms and 2 beds for those that prefer the black as their home address. But wait, that's not all. While it may have taken a step back from its combat-oriented brother, the Andromeda, the Taurus is no slouch. With 4 size 5 hardpoints, the Taurus is still what I would consider something of a heavy hitter, coming out of the box with 4 size 4 laser repeaters, all gimbaled, and believe me, keeping these bad boys gimbaled is going to be the smart play here, but more on that later. You'll also have a single turret equipped with 2 size 2 laser repeaters, and while this may not be as impressive as many other turret arrangements, at least it will give you a trigger-happy mate something to do. The lower turret has been retrofitted as a cargo tractor beam, and if you're watching this video when the tractor beam actually works, how is it? Is it cool? Because here in 3.17.5, we're all just living on hopium. In order to make space for that cargo storage, the Taurus has cut out some of its considerable missile capacity, bringing it down to 24 size 2 missiles, still enough to make any aggressor think twice. The bridge itself is spacious, with the pilot and 2 additional co-pilot seats facing the beveled cockpit glass, affording a reasonable view, though it is somewhat obstructed by the numerous structural beams. It's somewhat reminiscent of the Aurora being from the same manufacturer, though not quite as nice in my opinion. Before I get further into it, I just want to thank you all for your support. This channel has grown faster than I'd ever imagined, and we are pushing ever closer to that 6K subscriber mark. If you're enjoying this video, consider dropping a like on it so the YouTube algorithm gods know that I did alright, and if you aren't already a subscriber to the channel, I hope I've convinced you it's worth your while. I also stream on Twitch, I'll put a link to that in the description below. Alright, let's get back into it. So I can hear you asking now, alright Beard, you've convinced me. How much is the Taurus going to set me back? Well, If you hop on over to our favorite ship shop, New Deal in Lawville on Hurston, the Constellation Taurus is ticketed at 3.2 million and some change Alpha UEC. And while that's no small amount, it's worth noting that its brother, the Andromeda, will set you back 3.5, and its snobby posh brother, the Phoenix, will set you back an obnoxious 5.6 million. You sadly cannot rent the Taurus, but the Andromeda and Phoenix are available to rent should you wish to try out the constellation in general. Should you have fallen in love with the Taurus and can't imagine not having it the day of the wipe, you can pledge it on the RSI page for $209 US. Now, if you've watched any of my ship review videos, you probably know by now that Cousin Crows is my go-to spot for ship components. I must warn you, however, that fitting the Taurus with the tippy-top military-graded gear is not a cheap affair. So where does the Taurus fit in the proverbial landscape of Star Citizen? Well, I like to put it in the same category as your jack-of-all-trades ships like the Cutlass and Freelancer, just with a lot more firepower and a sizable jump up in cargo capacity. As I previously mentioned, that 174 SCU is nothing to sneeze at, allowing for half-decent profit pre-cargo refactor, and hopefully an increase after the cargo landscape has seen a reworking. Not only that, but the large cargo bay can be used to store ground vehicles such as the Drake Mule, the RSC Miner, and the Ursa, for which the space was originally sized to allow. With its 24 missiles and 4 size 5 hardpoints, the Taurus can definitely deal out a sizable amount of damage, though its larger size does heavily reduce its combat maneuverability. So as I mentioned before, keeping those hardpoints gimbaled is going to help with keeping the red raining down on your foes. The size 3 shield can definitely soak up a decent amount of damage, though it is slow to recharge, so the fastest way to remain in the fight is to ensure your enemy doesn't. The Taurus will struggle against smaller foes, not so much in the damage department, but rather in simply keeping them in your crosshairs, so keeping them in front of you and at a reasonable distance to increase the time they're held under your stream of repeater fire is the best bet. So why do I think it should have been a Drake? Well, just look at it. Sure, it does have the RSI form to it, but everything about it just screams Frontier. Its sparse furnishings to its cavernous hold, it can take a beating and dole one out too. Hell, it has a power cable running through the bridge area to power, well, I don't know what it powers, but it certainly looks like it was patched in a hurry. The only thing that is missing is a set of Drake thrusters so that it can vertical launch. I mean, it has the animations for VTOL included, but I swear I don't see any change in vertical movement with them activated. And not to mention the shielded bay. There's something just inherently Drake about smuggling, at least for me, and I'm actually saddened by the fact that the Cutlass doesn't have a shielded spot, even if only for a few boxes. When you haven't got a skin equipped, the external paneling lacks a refined aesthetic, again in my opinion, a Drake quality for sure. And there you have it, the Constellation Taurus, mighty in size and stature and packing some serious potential. Are you a Taurus fan, or do you prefer one of its variants? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've learned something from this video or just found it entertaining in general, hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing so now. Be sure to check out this video here. YouTube seemed to think it's right up your alley, and as always, citizens, stay safe in the verse, and I'll catch you all next time.